So today I am making a junk journal tote bag. So this is going to be, by the time it's all said and done, the measurement should be approximately 10 by 7. Okay. So most junk journals that I usually make, well, actually, I've made different sizes, and I know everybody makes different sizes, but this one is going to be made for like a 9 by 6 junk journal or smaller. Um, and it's so much fun to make. Not hard at all. All you need is, you can hand stitch all this if you want to. You don't even need a sewing machine. So you could do just a needle and thread, just some extra fabrics that you have hanging around, even some upcycled. You can upcycle fabrics. Jeans. I have jeans thrown in here. I have t-shirts in here that I coffee dyed. I have coffee dyed just fabrics. I have tie-dyed fabrics that I've done. Some bandanas. So you could just have like some old bandanas that you're not using. Open this up. And then the handle here is made from a paper bag. So it's one of our just restaurants that we get our food from. And they have really cool twisted, just kind of paper twisted handles. So I thought those would be fun. And I sewed them in there. So they are not going anywhere. I'll open it up for you. So this is the whole length of it. I want to make sure you guys can see it. So I'm turning it sideways. And this is a tie-dyed. I make banner flags. I'll put them up there to show you guys what they look like. I make banner flags in my Etsy shop, and this was an experiment that I was doing where I tie-dyed it, and then I took bleach, and I did like a stencil with my Cricut, and then sprayed with the bleach. So it's a U or an N. I make it either one. So lettering. So I thought this would be a fun just to have into the little tote bag here. So we got some lettering. I did some hand stitching throughout. Added some lace. Got some jean. Just did some more hand stitching. And then some of the little flowers here. Put that down. So just whatever you guys have. I made this just kind of the concept of a junk journal cover. And I'm still not done with all of it. But that is the structure of this. And if you guys want to learn how I sewed all this together, it's called crazy quilting or crumb quilting, and really, really simple. You just kind of just grab your fabrics, piece them all together, and then cut them to size that you want. So you're making your own fabric, which is super cool. I think that's so much fun. So I will post the link at the end screen where you guys can come check out exactly how I did this, because I did a deconstructed junk journal wall hanging, just wall art. Okay. And that's in my Etsy shop too. So I'll put the link down below. You guys come check it out. And when this is all said and done, this, with the fun surprise that we'll do in this video, so stay tuned to the end, will be in my Etsy shop. So you guys don't want to miss that. Okay. So I got all that. You can check out the video on how to piece all this together. I wanted to show you guys just how I'm going to piece this together. And yeah, and we'll go from there. So what I want to do, this is our top layer. So this is the bag itself of what it's going to be. Okay. So that's our top layer. And then what you're going to need, I'm going to show, this is called a sandwich, like a quilt sandwich, but we'll call it a little tote bag sandwich here. So you take your fabrics. I know I should iron this probably. I will in a minute. So you take your fabric that you want for the inside of the bag, okay? For the inside of your little tote bag. Is you lay this down, the wrong side up, okay? And you take your batting. Put down your batting. And I cut all this about, what? An inch or so, at least an inch around, okay? More in some spots. So you just wanted to be a little bit bigger. So when we do sew and quilt it together, this will shrink up a little bit on the sides, and then we'll cut it to size to match up with the front here, the front panel. Okay, so you got your wrong side down or up, wrong side of the fabric up, pretty side down. You got your batting. Flannel will work. Um, Fleece, anything, just like maybe a fleece blanket, or you could just put a couple of things of extra fabric in here, just any kind of thing, just to make it kind of quilted, like a quilted feel, a plush, or you don't need anything at all. It's up to you. Okay, so then you put your batting, and then you put your little tote bag cover facing up. Okay, so easy as pie. Okay, so before you pin it all down and it's done, and you've sat here and you did your hand stitching on it, you did everything that you want on it, you want to make sure to do that first. Okay, so unless you're going to hand stitch it all down, you could just lay this down and then do, just some hand stitching all the way to attach it all together. You could do that too, but make sure, if you don't want to do that, to just do everything first. So I just sat and watched my favorite show and just did some fun hand stitching. And what I used, I want to show you guys, is some Sue Spargo threads. These are great. They're just fun, uh, great for slow stitching, just threads here. Okay, so I have that. And then I just used, for the red, was just the DMC. I thought I had it right here. Just the DMC thread is what's on here right now. Okay, and before we do all this, I kind of wanted to show you guys some stitching here. So let's, just to give you guys an example of what I'm doing. So I'm just making sure, I always like to stitch towards the right. Okay, so that's how I like to do it. I always like to, because I'm right-handed, so when I'm doing my stitches, I just like to turn it and just have it to the right. It just makes it way easy. So I'm just taking it, popping it down, and then up, down, just like that. Super easy. And then down, and then you could just go right down to your next. And then I turn it. Thing. And it's very just primitive. Don't think about it too much. More meditative, stuff like that. And then keep in mind, and I will show you guys the measurements of how we're going to sew this all together, but there is going to be at least a 1/2 inch here on the sides that are going to be sewn. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your stitching. Just kind of keep it in the middle, because you don't, want to go through all the effort of stitching that and then it just disappears. So that is what I'm doing right now. So just any kind of stitching that you want to get down, now is your best time to do that. So just, I thought of this idea because I think it's fun to have a little tote to put your junk journals in. And I'm like, well, why not make the little tote bag pretty much look like a junk journal cover? I think that's just so fun. And we're going to be adding a fun little thing to this part too, and I'll show you in a second. So that's why I'm not going all the way over, because I'm going to be adding a neat little element to the front here. Running out of thread here. I'm just going to tie this off. And when I added like the laces and the little flowers and stuff onto it, I actually used some Fabrifix glue. So I kind of did this just the same way as I would do constructing a junk journal. You could take your Fabrifix glue, you could do anything like that to glue things down like this. So I just lifted up the jean part and just glued it. So I mean, and I did last night, so it's on there. It's on there pretty darn good. Okay, we got that, and then I glued down the little flowers here, and yeah, so there we go. And I want to show you what I'm going to put on the cover part right here, just to show you right now. I'm not going to actually add it on yet until the bag's all put together. All right, so my plan is for the front here. This will, this could be the side where you carry it and it shows so everybody can see how cute it's going to be. So what I have here is I made this last night, and I think it turned out really fun, guys. I think that's so much fun. So I took one of the found relatives here, and I'll make sure to link these, all the description stuff down below if I purchased it off Amazon. So found relatives, you get all these fun little pieces to play with, and I went with one of the bigger ones, and I took I have everything right here. Show you what else I did here. So these are the mini fasteners. Like that. I'll show you. That's what it looks like. Mini fasteners attachments. So I popped those through. Okay. And I just took my needle first, and I just popped my needle through first, and then put those through. And then here in my little grungy little corner, I used some parchment paper that was grunged up that I did coffee dyeing. I did some paints. I did some splatters. It just has everything on it. So I took a piece of that and crisscrossed them and glued those down in the background. Then I took some of the fun ephemera pack snippets here. It's the Curator. So it's just got all these little goodies in there. Oops. And that's what it looks like. 233 pieces. So just keep me busy for a second. So I got that. And then I had my mom sent me a goodie care package, and it had some of these little jewelry pieces, like little pins that you can, pin on. I have no idea. So you can pin them on. So I thought they were really cool. So I put the backing on here so they don't, poke through the bag or anything like that. So I made sure it's safe. So I popped those on there, and I did some stitching. I just did some X's here. After I glued, all the little pieces down, and then did some stitching on top. Poked that through, secured it. Did some stitching here, just with the DMC threads, and I used 3 strands. So I just did that. Took some lace, glued it to the back. This is some avocado dyed, I think it's avocado dyed. It's either coffee, tea, or avocado, but pick one. And I just glued it around, framed it. Thought it looked really cute. I did some inking around the edges before I did all that, and I just used my walnut stain and my little dauber here. So that's how I constructed all that. Got it all done, and then I want to place this about here. I want the little X's to show, some of the markings to show, so I might do some more little markings right here throughout, but I think that would look cute, about there. And at the very end, I want to make sure to just glue this down and just get it glued securely to the bag. And I think that would be just a great cover. So I think that's going to work out great. And I'm super excited. So I want to take you guys over to the table, my sewing table, and show you guys what I'm going to do next, and show you guys the little pattern that I did. And we'll go from there. All right, I want to show you guys some other fun little things that you can add to the cover here. So I have my little slow stitch kitty that I just put a little beads on a bulb pin and did a little love trinket, a little wooden bead or button, not a bead, a little wooden button. Just did a little gemstone here that has little holes in it, so I just did the whiskers and all that stuff. So this is really cute. I have a video on it. I'll put it on the end screen. You guys come check it out. But I thought this would be kind of fun. I almost did this one for the cover. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you like this better, the front of the little tote bag, or the Tim Holtz. So the kitty or the Tim Holtz. Yeah, let me know. I'm kind of curious, actually. I think I'm going to use this one, though. But I think I just want to show you guys an example. So that you can definitely do. And I have some slow stitching stuff that I've done with stamping. So you can do some fun stamping. Some buttons. Made some yo-yos. So these are just really cool. And I think I have a video on me doing this slow stitching. And I got yo-yos, so we'll see. I'll have to put it all on. I think I can only do 3 videos at the end and then the subscribe button, but maybe I'll do 4. So I got the yo-yos. I'll show you guys the primitive stitching here, which is really cool. So instead of just stitching on here, you could have it already stitched, like say it was already done and you guys had some. You could just take it and either fabric fix it down onto the front of your bag, or you could go ahead and put it down and then sew it. You can hand stitch it on. You can just do it with your sewing machine. But right now is a good time to do all that before we sandwich it all together. Okay? And then this is a thread I keep talking about, the DMC. It's just embroidery thread. And I was just taking 3 strands. You can separate it. So I just do 3 strands at a time. So that's what I've been using, just for the red parts. And then the Sioux Spargo for like the other parts here. Okay, so those are just more examples. I want to make sure you guys have plenty of examples that you can, or ideas and stuff that you can add to your little tote bag here. Okay, so now, as promised, I haven't showed you guys this yet, is our directions. So I just kind of wrote these down. I'll walk you guys through it real quick. So what we got is our Junk Journal Tote Bag. And what I cut the outside panel to is 8 inches by 22. Okay, so I did all my sewing. I sewed everything together until I had enough to cut out 8 by 22. So you're making your own fabric, and then you cut out those measurements. So 8 across and 22 tall. And then we're going to fold it in half. Okay. So we fold it all in half, and then what we do is sew 1/4 of an inch down, right? And 1/4 of an inch. Well, once it's folded, you don't have to sew the bottom, but we'll go from there and just look at it as we do it. But it's going to be 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and this is the outside. So here's our Tim Holtz little cover. So there's a little cover. And this is going to be the outside of the bag when we sew it. So we got 1/4 of an inch. Then we're going to flip it to where it's the wrong side out and catch all those raw edges. Okay. And then when we flip it back out, it'll have a nice finished edge to it. So that'll take 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch, and it'll just be a 1/2 inch gone on each side. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So it'll make it, by the time it's all finished, it'll be 7 inches wide too. See how I always have my handle already on here. So now's your time. You pick out whatever handle you want. You can make your own handle. You can do a paper bag. You can just use whatever you want for your handle, and just go ahead and sew it on now. Then it's ready for us to layer it up. So that totally works. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to sandwich it up and start sewing it. But I think before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and do it in a time lapse real quick and just stitch. Just get the rest of that stitching done right here. So I have my little journal tote here, sandwiched together. So I got the good side facing down, and I stacked all my batting, and then the pretty side up of the bag here. I have it on a straight stitch, and I just have a walking foot on, and I'm just going to do straight lines, maybe every 2 inches or so, and just quilt all the way down. it is done and quilted. I think it turned out really good. There's the back. Just a regular pin here. I'm gonna do a Sharpie. I want to be able to see this line. So I'm just kind of just giving it a mark here. And this is on the inside of the bag, so it's okay. Just because I want to see where to cut that, and the handle's in the way, so I need to do that. This, and it has a little crooked to it, but I like that. A little bit of interest, and it is a Junk Journal tote bag. So it's perfect. Doesn't need to be straight. So this is a great beginner project for you guys if you're not good at sewing or never done it, or just a beginner. This is a fun little project, and it really is not that hard to just put together and construct this little tote bag. Okay, so I'm doing that, and then I'm just pretty much cutting. I forgot a pen. I'm just going to go ahead and cut all around the bag and even it all out. So I went ahead and cut everything around, all out. Now what I'm going to do is fold it in half, line it up. If you want to, you can pin it, which this is where the little wonder clips come in great. Lined up. Okay, we're pinned all the way around, and we got our pretty side out, so we're going to start with that first. And if your fabric is thick, like mine is, you might have to lift up your foot. This is when a walking foot comes in really handy because it pulls all the fabric through evenly, and the little feed dogs are up, and it's just pulling that fabric through at the same equal amount, and it just really does help. Okay, so I'm 1/4 inch lined up here. I'm just going to sew it all the way down. I'll do a back stitch and a back stitch at the end, and we'll get this done. So I forgot I had my time lapse on still, and I was talking. So here I'm just telling you guys that these little ends are great to use for junk journaling. The little fabric bunnies or the leads right there. And what we're going to do now is flip the bag over to the wrong side out, and then just make sure that you have the corners poked out really good. And we're going to just line it up and take the wonder clips and clip it down, and go ahead and just take a straight stitch and sew right along, right beside it, just right there, and just sew it all the way down. And I'm taking off the little container drawer that holds all my tools and my needles and stuff in it, just to make room, because I want to zigzag the top first of the little tote bag, just to get all the raw edges and everything like that. So I'm zigzagging the top of the bag first. Then we'll go ahead and clip it together on the sides and do stitching just right down the side.
on each side.
We got all this done and sewn around. This is the inside, which I think turned out really cute. And then we'll make sure to just get anything that we need to cut now before we flip it. And we're just going to flip it. Chopstick. Edges. We just make sure we catch all the edges. Even if a little sticking out, I don't mind that because this is a junk journal tote. That is the fun part about it. So if you got any threads that you're worried about or some stuff sticking out, I wouldn't stress about it. That just gives it a little more character. I'm liking the way that's looking. So it just gives it a nice clean edge here. It's like a rolled over little seam that we did. So that's a fun little addition there. Now, if you guys did not want to do the rolled over seam like this, all you have to do is do the bag the opposite way. You know, instead of having the pretty side out when you sew it, you just do where the inside out, the inside of it is showing, and then you just sew down, and then you don't have to worry about it. So either way, however you guys want to do it. But I'm really liking the way that this looks, and it's got a cool feel to it. There we go, and let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see. We're 9x6 journals are going to go in here. I was hoping it's a little bigger than that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. But this fits a 6.5 inch journal wide. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we got 11 tall. So that gives you a little extra room, which I think is great. So you can, you know, mess around with the measurements and do them a little different if you want. But this is how this one turned out. So I'm just getting some of the loose threads, which doesn't really matter. Okay, so there we go. So we got that all done, and now I just want to, because this is already made and ready to go. So that's that side. And this side is where I want to put this. Like that. You just see where you want it. Do that. I'm going to do my Fabrifix glue. Put a good amount of glue on there. Give it a nice just press. So I think this is just going to be so much fun to put your junk journals in. And speaking of that, I got a fun little surprise. Remember, I said at the beginning, we have a fun surprise that's going to be added to this. So I'm going to let this dry to the side and let me go get all the stuff for the surprise, and we'll get that going. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and grab just a paper bag just from a fast food place or wherever you can get a paper bag, and make sure, just fold it in half, make sure that it will line up in here. That's a great fit. Look at that. And I'm going to construct it with my pretty papers here and add a signature in it with some avocado tea dyed, different kind of papers that I've done, and bind it in here. Maybe do a couple little pockets, do a little tuck here, and sew it on my machine around the edges and stuff, and voila, I'll make a cute little junk journal that can slide in here to go with it in my Etsy shop. So I'm going to do that in a time lapse, and we'll look at the end result. So if you guys are enjoying this video, please hit the like button. That helps me out so much. It gets my video out there more for other people to check out how to make this cute little junk journal tote bag. It's so much fun. So this is the cover of it, all dry. And then there's the back of it. Got our cute little handles on it. And then I went ahead and made a fun, perfect size junk journal to go into the little tote bag here. And this will be in my Etsy shop, so they'll come together just like that. And I hope you guys come and at least check out my Etsy shop and hit the heart button and favorite. That helps me out a lot. Even if you don't come and purchase, but coming and favor my shop really supports me, and I really appreciate you guys. Okay, so here we go. And I'll do a little flip through. So I just have this on the cover. I made this a long time ago. I did some like texture paste on it. It was like a homemade texture paste and stencil. So some stenciling and stuff. So it's got some cracks happening in it, which I think gives it a lot of character. So that's a fun, and I did acrylic paints behind it. So that's the cover. And I went ahead and stitched it all the way around. You can kind of see it's just gray. I did gray thread just all the way around it. And then that's what made this fun little pocket right here. So there's a little tuck, and that's the bottom part of the paper bag. So you got a little tuck to put stuff in. Pretty papers throughout. A little bit of glue on there. And then I got some coffee dyed, tea dyed, avocado dyed, and I think that's it throughout. So we got some grungy papers. And I just did the one signature. This is RIT dyed. So I just pretty much tie-dyed, and it's handmade paper that I made. So I figured I'd throw that in there. I did some handmade paper like a couple years ago. Just different things like that in here. So this is pretty much just a naked journal that you can add your own touches to and do it however you want. I'm just creasing down the pages. I haven't gone through it yet, so I'm trying to make sure that they're all nice and crisp here. And then we got a pocket and some more pretty paper. And that's the back of it. So there we go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informational. And if you could please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and you guys can see my next video when I post it. Like, comment, and share, and let's grow together. And keep on crafting.